Aerospace and defense firms, especially ones bidding on government contracts, need to produce a basis of estimate to prove to their customer, government, how they derive the cost and therefore the price of each proposal. I'm Richard Minney, co-founder of Twenty5, and I'm going to explain to you how Twenty5's tool can help these aerospace and defense firms to produce a compliant and auditable basis of estimate. What is a basis of estimate? Essentially, the rationale behind coming up with a cost for a project. It's explaining every single number that produced the total amount, and that could consist of tens of thousands of materials and tens of thousands of labor hours going into the recurring and the non-recurring aspects of the project. It's one thing to come up with all of this information with an expert in a spreadsheet. It's another thing to prove to the government auditor at DCAA that you've come up with an accurate number and a fair number. Rules and regulations like TINA include your suppliers. So any spend more than $2 million with a supplier requires that they come up with a cost rationale and a proper cost analysis as well. What Twenty5 does is it sits on top of your SAP system. And it's particularly geared around aerospace and defense firms, doing proposals and doing basis of estimates. It covers the entire life cycle, recurring and non-recurring. So the non-recurring engineering, the prototyping, the R&D aspects of a project, mostly labor-based, but obviously some bills of material. And then the recurring aspects of production and procurement, where you're doing repetitive items, but some engineer to order, some configure to order. Twenty5 manages the whole cycle. Could be a program lasting 10, 20, 30 years. Inflation and escalation can be significant. And all of those materials are costed using transaction history. So instead of using the standard price or some cost estimate someone dusted off from somewhere, you're looking at actual transactions. Could be purchase orders, contracts, vendor quotes, production order confirmations, task lists, routing standards, learning curves, realization factors, vendor decrement factors, quantity adjustment factors. All of that is calculated by the system. We call it the art and science of estimating. The system does science and analyzes your history coming straight out of your SAP system and presents the results to the estimator. And then the art, the estimator goes in and decides what are the key parts, what's the 5% they've got to focus on and estimate more accurately. As a result, the basis of estimate is compliant. Recent client of ours who went through the audit with the DCAA found no findings at all. It was perfect. Every single question they asked, they knew the answer. They could point to the source, this purchase order, this vendor, this year, this much was the quantity factor, this was the inflation factor, this was the complexity factor for similar to, everything was justified, literally no findings at all. That's what Twenty5 brings to aerospace and defense firms running on SAP and helping them to produce a basis of estimate and a compliant proposal.